Hey folks, if you're like me and you have longed to recreate some of those classic AD&D art pieces out on your tabletop in 3 dimensions, aside from just a tiny number of vendors, that's been kind of a difficult thing to do unless you are an exceptionally talented painter or extremely patient or both. But now that may be changing, but before we get into that, of course, I'd like to remind everybody that this video is brought to you by our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of adventures they'd like to play, whether it's for Castles and Crusades, for 5th edition D&D, or for the OSR. Old School is in play at the table with Hellebarde Games, and you can check them out on DriveThruRPG or on their website, hellebardegames.com, and they are, of course, linked in the description below. So, first of all, I do want to thank Vinnie Notabartolo. He is an audience member who actually sent me this information initially, and then I found an article which I will link to also in the description below from this is actually from wargamer.com, and let's take a quick gander at that article. Huge Wizkids set has 60 D&D minis based on old school art. Both retro and modern D&D monsters star in the latest Wizkids set, which has a whopping 60 different Dungeons and Dragons miniatures. And you can see right off the block, they've got an okay-ish demon idol there with the cover it represents. We're going to take a slightly closer look at that in a minute. This is from Matt Bassel over there. But to get into it, Wizkids is releasing its largest collection of D&D miniatures yet to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the role-playing game. This 50th anniversary booster set has 60 miniatures in total, including characters and monsters from Strahd to Vecna, Githyanki to Knowles. The Icons of the Realm set is available to pre-order now at $25 a pack and expected to release in Q3 of this year. So for those of you not hip to it, that's around summertime. And I do right now, I want to take exception to the title. Icons of the Realm is, guys, 2 of the featured pieces we're going to look at are Greyhawk, not Forgotten Realms, but let us go on. The unique thing about this collection is that there are 2 versions of most of the minis. One is based on the current 5e interpretation of a Dungeons & Dragons character or creature, while the other looks like the original 1e form. We're vastly more excited by the older models. Me too, Matt. Me too. As these are very faithful recreation of the original D&D monster drawings, there are some rather funky-looking minis available. Hey, one man's art, right? So we can see here we've kind of got a cavalcade. We've got a cool-looking Githyanki there. And then there's, I guess, supposed to be Vecna. We've got a Drider. Now, I know some people might say, ooh, it's Loth. The only representation we've got of Loth is Dave Sutherland's illustration of her, where it's her head on a spider's body, not the half spider, half woman. But let's go on. For instance, if you get a 5e Blink Dog, you'll have a pretty recognizable magical Canid on your hands. But if you get the 1e Blink Dog, you get a model that's immensely funnier with a slight look of feral chipmunk about it. Of course, we're being unfair to the 1e drawings. Yes, you are. There are plenty of iconic pieces of old school artwork, and these are instantly recognizable in their miniature form. For instance, there's a recreation of the Ifrit statue from the 1e Player's Handbook. That's not an Ifrit. Sorry, you missed on that one, my dude. That's not an Ifrit. That one with the red gem eyes. In fact, there are 2 versions, one in inanimate statue mode and the other after it has come to life to go to town with the greedy players. And there's the aforementioned Blink Dogs, a good one, and one that looks like it's being flushed down the toilet on the left there. It's also cool to see 2 minis from this collection side by side and see how the game's creation have devolved. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that? Evolved over time. You could have a 5e mimic all purple tongue and horrid teeth right beside the 1e version, a chest that grows fists to pummel you. And, of course, we have an example there. You get 4 random D&D monsters in each $25 booster pack, including 1 large mini and 3 small or medium-sized figures. They can be pre-ordered from the Wizkids or IGN store and come out in the third quarter of 2024. And of course, you guys can see this bad boy here. Releasing alongside the randomized booster packs is a standalone red D&D Dragon Mini, costing $25. Older tabletop RPG fans may recognize him from the D&D Basic Set rulebook that came out in 1977. And yes, that is that's a pretty good looking representation, I would say. And folks, I'm not gonna lie, I had to jump on it. I got one. I'll show it off when it gets here. But for more modern offerings, check out our guide to D&D, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right. So there's the article. There's the article from Wargamer. And as I said, Vinnie Notabartolo was kind enough to actually send me some images that he had gleaned. So let's take a quick look at those. Let's hop over to the slideshow and have a quick gander. Now, this first one you can see here, this is the aforementioned misnamed Efreet. It's noted there as Eidolon. I don't know what they're going for, but I will point out that that is most likely Moloch from the Monster Manual 2, just by description of face and whatnot, and of course the gem eyes fit. A devil lord of greed. Not crazy about it. I have a better one from Otherworld Miniatures, who, by the way, I should remind you guys, are going out of business, or at least the creator is giving up the business. He's retiring. So if you want a better looking one than this, I would recommend grabbing one now while they still have some, if they still do. The animated one isn't bad. If you're going to spring that trap on your players, the animated one isn't bad. So let's take a look at the next one in that. So here we go. So there's the player's handbook that it's based on. And like I said, I happen to think that the one from the folks over at Otherworld is the better looking of the two. Because, hey, you can get the thieves, you can get the braziers, you can get the altar. So, yeah, match point goes to Otherworld there. The next up, we have the false Acererak. Now, Vinny asked me because he's not, I don't think he had seen the Tomb of Horrors yet in its fullest. He said, they said this was Acererak, is it? That is not, spoiler alert here, guys, yes, on a 40-something-year-old module. Acererak has a false lair. This is a zombie dressed up in Acererak's robes. It has magic mouth cast on it. It's got some other enchantments that stop you from being able to turn it or destroy it. It acts like it's casting spells. There's an illusion that the tomb starts to collapse when he attacks the party, and so on and etc. This is not Acererak. This is just an exceptionally well-dressed zombie. And there it is from the cover. And as you can see, it's a pretty good pose. You know, he's got, I think they went a little too tall rather than broad on his crown. But hey, it's not bad. It's not bad. So let's continue on. Now, this one I particularly like for a couple of reasons. But of course, if you're a big Greyhawk fan like me, you know, this is Mork Kanan. The proper Mork Kanan, not the Anton Zandor LaVey looking guy that D&D minis had back in the early 2000s, with a glorious mane of gray hair and some white in his beard there. And that, of course, comes to us from Mork Kanan's Fantastic Adventures. And personally, I think this one is glorious. I can't wait to have that guy on the tabletop. I think it captures, I believe that's Parkinson's art. If that's Jeff Easley, somebody please feel free to correct me in the comments down below. But moving right along. Now this one, there is no AD&D analog for. And who is this? Why, this is Vecna. Vecna is kind of more of a 2E sort of guy. I don't think he ever got a description beyond his hand and his eyeball, but rather like doing a quote-unquote proper Acererak, which would be a head, rather a skull the size of a pinhead. Vecna would be a tiny little hand and a tiny little eyeball, which you would lose almost immediately. So here, in this case, they give us the evil Archlich himself missing a hand and an eye. So maybe that's your jam. Maybe you dig that. In the overall, I think these are pretty good. It's nice to see, if not Wizards of the Coast, at least Wizkids showing some proper respect for classic D&D art during the year of the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I know some of you folks might feel like, hey, I don't want to give Wizards of the Coast any money, and I completely understand. I would guess these are probably going to flood the market on eBay as soon as they release. People will be buying boosters and selling these out. But as we know, anything old school tends to be fairly expensive. So if you're going to go that route, just prepare for the ouch. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. It really, really helps the show out. And if you want to support us further, of course, you can support us on Patreon or via YouTube memberships for as little as $1 a month. So I hope you liked the video, guys. I will return later with a live stream. We're going to have a lot of fun on those. We do those 5 nights a week, and we have a blast. So hopefully I'll see you there. But until next time, regardless, be good to each other. And hey, keep your fingers off my minis. Peace.